So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today. I am very honored to have Debra R. Cohen, a professor at the David A. Clarke School of Law, here with us today to lead our session. And this is called Qualtrics Next Steps, Creative Ways to Use Qualtrics in the Classroom. And Professor Cohen, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm
Yeah.
Deb Cohen, and I've been at UDC. I think this is my 11th year, but I've been teaching for 30. And prior to becoming a law professor way back, because I'm old, in the 80s, I played a lot with technology in the early days. And so I've always been an early adopter or a creative adopter of various technologies.
Excellent. And, before we get started with Professor Cohen's presentation, I just wanted to kind of have a quick discussion with you, Professor, of why did you start using Qualtrics in the first place?
So I serve on the University Assessment Committee with Dr. Graham, and she had gotten Qualtrics for the university.
Mhm.
And she was telling me about it, and I'd had some exposure, and it just sort of dawned on me that this was a really much easier way and a UGC supported way of doing some of the things I'd been using other resources for, free resources, limited resources, paid resources. So that was why I did it. And it's turned out to be a really, really wonderful, wonderful tool.
Thank you. And, so what I used to use before was Microsoft Forms, which definitely has its limitations. So, for other faculty or anyone else on the call, what are some getting started tips that you can briefly share about using Qualtrics?
Well, what I'm going to say is that you dive in. The help, I think Dr. Graham just joined us, and she did a great webinar last month on the real basics on how to log in and do it. But once you get your user login and stuff, it's a very intuitive format. And the help, if you search help, either in their help database or all the other schools that use it, you can usually solve your problem in about 10 minutes.
Excellent. I love that. And Professor Cohen, feel free to go ahead and start sharing your presentation. But I'm very excited for everyone here on the call today. It is a very interactive and fun presentation. So can't wait to learn more.
Share screen, and let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen. Yeah, we're sharing a screen because I'm going to click back and forth.
Yep.
Do you all have my screen?
I see it now. Thank you so much.
Cool. All right, let me also just get I lost my chat. Well, David, oh, there we go. I was gonna say, I'm gonna let you deal with the chat, but let me just get my chat open. So I am not remotely formal. Hello, everyone, I'm Deb Cohen, and you can see my basic information on the slide so that you know how to reach me if you have any questions. So again, Qualtrics has been a really nice way for me to do some fun things in class. Now, there are all the conventional ways to use it, which most of you are familiar with. For example, surveys, right? You've taken numerous. Is there anyone who's here today that hasn't taken a UDC survey? Conventional, we've all done that. Another pretty conventional way to use it is course evaluations. Most of us have done course evaluations. And again, very useful, very helpful, but conventional. So I want to start with the ways that I've been using it to help me in my classroom and help me what I hope is better teaching. My students may or may not agree, but I'm going to start with one of the issues we used to have, which was attendance. The law school actually requires attendance, and we had to keep track of it. And so for years, we have circulated a paper copy around the room. And, usually that works okay, except then you have to tabulate it. And then sometimes someone didn't get it, because if you have a 50 or 60 person class, it doesn't always get around to everyone, or it doesn't always get back to you. Anyway, one of my colleagues said, can't we do this electronically? And I realized that we probably could. So this semester, we have started using Qualtrics to take attendance by QR code or email link. You can do either one. So if everybody would please just take attendance, you have a QR code on the board now. Please scan your smartphone or tablet if you have one with you and we can do attendance. And the reason I'm asking you to do that is I have it opened on the back end so I can actually show you what you get later on. So this is actually very easy to do, and you can sort of see it now. And if you have questions, let me know. I can send you a copy of mine and you can change a few things and make it yours. Has everyone had a chance to do attendance? Unmute and say no if you haven't.
Yes, I was able to do that. I see Ali as well. Thank you so much for those thumbs up.
Okay, so this is how simple it is to do it. Now, hold on, let me switch over to Qualtrics for a moment so you're seeing it. Qualtrics is, and if you look at, if you go to Dr. Graham's webinar, which I know was recorded, you can very easily see the how to create and everything. But basically where you usually start is on this page, and it lets you create a new project. This is once you've logged in. I've already created my project, but you would create it and name it. I recommend using folders to keep them straight, because after your first few months, you have lots of things to keep straight. So I actually have them all in project folders so I can always find what I'm looking for. This is in my webinars folder, and here's QR attendance. So it's a really, really simple Qualtrics. That's the whole thing. That was the whole survey. This is the attendance sheet for our webinar on this date at this time. By submitting it, you certify you're present today, and you write your name in, and then you click the arrow. Now let me show you what that looks like. You've all seen what it looks like when the student gets it. And then we can see the results. It'll take a second, but so we know who's here, and you also have the ability to download these, which allows you to have a spreadsheet. Now, I use the same QR code for the whole semester. And so whenever I download, I have one Excel spreadsheet, which has all, and I can sort it by date, or I can sort it by name to see what my absences are. If you're concerned about that, then you can do something else. You can create a new one for each week or each class and have a different QR code. Let me go back to my presentation. So create the new project, add a text question with your introduction. This is the attendance. Add a text entry question for name and turn on forced response. I'll show you that real quick. So when you go to this one, here under response requirements, you can turn on or off forced response or request response. For attendance, you want forced response. Then you, I add the text because if it's the first time they're using it, to click the arrow to go forward. You then publish it, and then under the distribution, see up here, you can click once you've published your survey over here, you go to distribution, and it will give you several options. But if you go to QR code, you can copy that into your presentation. Now, the other thing you can do is you can send it by email, right? I often use email, and I'm going to use email for a bunch of the other ones I'm going to do in a moment. So I'll come back to that in a second. The emailing does require you to create a student list, but I do that for each class every semester anyway. The next thing I like to do with it is I call them opening assessments. Now, learning science says that it's really good to get their brains started as they come into class and make sure they're thinking about what you want them to be thinking about, reviewing what you want them to review, so that when you start class, they're ready to go. So I start with a timed question to get things started. And I use very much lower level Bloom's taxonomy, a fact, a rule, something that they can write a sentence to, or to write it out. So you can do this by name. You can require them to submit their name, or you can do it anonymously. For this one, I always use the email list, because then I know who's answered. Even if I let them answer anonymously, I can see who's answered or not. One of the nice things about this is you can immediately look at the results to see, they didn't seem to understand that definition, so maybe I ought to start with it. And if there's a multiple choice question, as you'll see in a moment with one of the other things I do, you can actually let the students download these assessments with their score. And in class, you can project the answers that they're giving. So you can do a chart. So for example, well, I'm going to get to that in a moment here. So this one doesn't. Nope, let me go do it the other way. All right, so that's the second thing I like to do. The third is similar, but it requires, I generally use multiple choice questions for it in the middle of class. So I say, I put up, we've had a conversation, or I have a practice question, and I have them all answer. Now, again, you can put a QR code up on the board so that they can just respond, or you can have sent this out by email and it's in their inbox for when they're ready. In doing this, you then get this result. So this chart right here, I pulled out of one of my Qualtrics, and it told us what the response was. And so I find this incredibly helpful when I'm doing class, because if either they all got it and they all feel wonderful, or they're seeing that, 5 of us went with this answer. And then we get to either volunteer or ask people to defend different answers, or why one is right and one is wrong. And it usually really helps get discussion going. Now, another thing I do is the self-scoring assessments, okay? And again, these are also very similar, and I'll go back to Qualtrics in a moment and show you some of it, but these are very, very similar to either the text or the, well, for self-scoring, they have to be multiple choice. But I do these, and if you're interested, I've actually integrated this into Blackboard, and there's a webinar from last semester, I think, where we did that. So if that interests you, that's already there, and I won't waste time on it here because you all are busy. And one of my favorite things to do is the muddiest point. So this is what I use for end of, do I show the results in real time? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And yes, I have to refresh to do that. So it depends. Sometimes it takes too long and I sort of run it in the background and then project it. As you can see, Dr. Brown, what I'm doing right now is that I'm sharing a screen, not PowerPoint. And I have my Qualtrics open behind it on the screen because I have multiple screens going. So I can flip back and forth between the screens and let one refresh while I'm using the other, so I don't lose too much time. I don't know if anyone does the muddiest point kind of thing. I love this. This was some people call it 1-minute papers at the end of class to figure out if they're with you or if something confused them. Now, again, I use this 2 ways, and I'm going to let you all tell me where your muddiest point is. So if you would all click on your QR code and do this. Again, it can be done anonymously or with grades. If you want more self-assessment, you can ask them to tell you the clearest points versus the muddiest points. I usually do this in class with the QR code, but I periodically send them an email link with this link so that they actually, anytime they have a muddy point, they can just submit it without feeling like they have to come to office hours. So I'm going to switch over now from the presentation to the Qualtrics, but I'd love to know which ones you're particularly interested in looking at. So I'm going to go to my muddiest point. I'll make sure you've all had a minute to do it. Do you need the QR code again?
Yeah, let's put that up again one more time.
There
Thank
it
you,
is.
Professor.
So you all have the QR code. And now Dr. Brown will see how long it does take, because I'm going to go back over here to muddiest point. And again, you have two choices when you're doing this. One is to look at the data analysis, which is going to present it one way, and you can download it here with the export. No, they're still being done. I guess I should give you back the QR code again.
And in this example, Professor, you're using this as an anonymous question for our session today.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
I didn't want you to have to disclose if you hated it. That would slam the results. If I could tell who did it, you might not say, this is horrible.
Mm. But this is great. I remember hearing this from you before about the muddiest point. And even in our trainings here on the C.A.L team, this would be great to, utilize during a training. Yeah.
Muddiest point is one of those assessment tools that they talk about. Julian, you have a question? Go ahead.
No, not a question. Just agreeance with you. I use this a lot when I teach my math classes, this kind of exit ticket where students can kind of self-assess or at least give me feedback on class or any misconceptions they may have had about the material. And I do find that it tends to be really good anonymously because students don't want to attach their name to necessarily their feedback. So just a great point made by you. I wanted to reiterate that.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah, thank you, Julian.
So again, people are here not just for the ideas, but to sort of see how easy they are to do, right? Because just doing them. So let's see if we got some results. So when I'm taking it from myself, I download it into an Excel spreadsheet and I have my Excel spreadsheet saved. So I have them and I don't have to go back here. But often if I'm doing it in class, I just go to results where we've got four extremely effectives. Okay, so that was great. I'm not familiar with Kahoot, so that's how to change themes in Qualtrics. Okay. I haven't used templates, so I'm not the person for that. But if you want to change your themes back here in survey, I'm pretty sure it's look and feel. You can change your theme right here. This is the preset one, and so you would have to upload or create one, but they have the UDC without the logo and the UDC with the logo as the pre-done one. I think Dr. Graham was here, so she might be able to say that. I would have to look up how to upload one, but I'm pretty sure you can. I've been able to change my arrows and my colors. And generally this is the theme and layout, right? You get to go through here and you can change the next button and you can use, in your library, you can create new messages. So you can say, instead of a button, you can say, click here too. And here is for background, right? So you can change your colors or put a photo up. So I found that it's been pretty easy to navigate.
And I have a quick question as you go through this. Are you able to share, let's say I wanted to collaborate with you on a Qualtrics survey. Are you able to share so I have also editing access?
There is a button that says share with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming you can, but I have never tried to do it, so I don't know how to do it, but there is a part under projects that says shared with me. So I am assuming Qualtrics has that ability, but Dr. Graham would probably know more about that than I do.
Got it. But thank you. Yeah, that would be really nice to collaborate because I know we have, team surveys that go out. So yeah, this is an option I'll look into as well.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
again, if you want help with Qualtrics, you go right here
Excellent.
and you say, I'm guessing what to write.
Hmm. Oh yeah, collaborating on projects.
But that's how great this help
Yeah.
is. So I've been really, really pleased with it. I think that this is one of those packages that the university has invested probably a ton of money on, but I actually think it's been a really great one.
Thank you.
So again, I don't know if any of the people here wanted particular guidance on particular things, like how to do certain questions or stuff, but if so, please, because I know you're all really busy and I wanted to make sure I kept to a half hour, unless you all want to talk longer, which I'm happy to do. Because I am now on the Q&A part, unless you have questions or concerns, you guys can go back to anything, or I can let you all go have lunch.
Hi. Yes, thank you. This is so helpful. I do have a question. I'm wondering if there's a way to, I used to teach in elementary school, and there was a program called Kahoot that was like an engaging, like interactive game kind of survey. I wonder if there's a way through Qualtrics to like, that's kind of gamified and would make it fun to do one of like a survey questionnaire, but that's also fun to do it during class, if that makes sense.
So they have, let's go to, here was my sample of an opening assessment, right? I should have given you this one. My sample of an opening question, I think it asked you your favorite, right? Let me do this one because this one is a timed one. Let's give you a QR code real quick that you can all play with and do. So you can all just click on that QR code and you can see what a timed assessment looks like. Because the very cool thing is you can put a timer on it. So you could give them a certain amount of time to answer each question, which would help gamify it a bit. I do this at the beginning because I don't want them to keep working on it. This auto submits or auto advances them so they can't keep going to it. And I really, really like that. In terms of it, there are a number of different kinds of questions that slide or that are grid questions that you have to choose, and you can allow multiple answers. So I don't think it would look like a game. I know one time years ago, I created a Jeopardy kind of game. And I don't even remember what I used to do it because it was so old, none of that technology would exist anymore. But that would, I mean, that's worth brainstorming on, right? I mean, the QR code for attendance came up because we were brainstorming on how to make this easier and not use our admin time to collate paper of attendance, right? And this is really it. So I don't know that I have a great answer for you, but that's where I would start. Did you all answer the 1 minute question?
So this one is expired, this code.
Oh, this code is expired.
Yeah.
Oh.
But Ali, thank you. That's a great question. I know gamification is a big one. So I love the example of using the time.
Well, so let's republish. Oh, it's definitely not. Oh, it's, you know what? It's taken me out of.
Yeah, and thank you, Dr. Graham. I see you can definitely do polls, somewhat similar to Kahoot, and view the data in the results tab. Okay.
So this is like one of my results tab. I just, this is what the answers were.
Yeah.
This was the webinar I did last semester on how to integrate Qualtrics into Blackboard. So, because Blackboard had this little feature that said, if you're using anonymous grading, which we at the law school do, you cannot use any other question types. So you can only do one essay, which was not what I wanted. So I actually had to do all my multiple choice in Qualtrics and then embed it, but it did self-grade and it didn't give me quite the statistics that our usual program did, but it worked while we were doing remote learning. And it was, you know, a way to do all the things I needed to do, strapping together various technologies. So, you know, I'm a good resource for people who want to brainstorm how to make things happen. And one of the things that I love about C.A.L is it's allowing different parts of the university to start connecting. I don't know. So you said you're in causes, but I didn't know what CAUGE is.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know how well those acronyms are known throughout the university, but it's the Center for Urban Agriculture and Gardening Education. So I run the Master Gardener program, so a certificate program for the public, so not for UDC students.
Oh, so were you the one looking for volunteer gardeners?
Yes, I just saw that too, that email. Perfect.
Oh yeah, no, actually that's somebody else within
Okay.
classes.
Okay,
But there will probably be master gardener, like people who are part of the program that I run at that event as well.
Yeah, Ali, you know what? I will follow up with you because I think that's I would love the CAL team to be involved with that. So I'll follow up with you afterwards.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah,
So,
thank
I
you.
mean, one of the reasons I volunteer to do this is because I want to start meeting people in the university who are interested in doing these things, because I think that's what makes our job much more interesting and more exciting, right? And we all become better teachers and better learners by just talking.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, Professor King, Dr. King, I think you said you use it a lot. How else do you use it?
So speaking to the gamification piece, I kind of use it in the sense of that as well. It doesn't provide the same layout as Kahoot, which is more games, but being able to be intentional with the design when you're including images and videos and above certain questions that students may be answering will kind of provide it that same type of feel. I also use it for my mid-year surveys. In the middle of the year, just asking students, you know, how do they feel they're doing? Anything I can do in the class? Anything I can do to help support them going further. That's another great tool that Qualtrics is really good for, is those mid-year evaluation surveys.
Yeah, I really like it for that too, because they can both do the multiple choice parts of it and they can do the commentary. Because the nice thing, I don't know how much you've used it, but when you do questions, if you add a new question, you can, and if you haven't used it, I'm sorry, let me back up. When you do new questions, you can do all kinds of things, like you can give them, here I'm adding a question right here. You can add a text entry question and you can allow them a single line, multiple lines, or an essay box. And the other thing I liked is that when you do multiple choice, if you have an other, you can actually do the drop down box that lets them enter the text of what that other is, which provides a lot of help, which I like. If you haven't been using the time, I love the timer. You can count it. It makes you do the calculation in seconds. And you have to do both, if you want an auto advance after how long, and then whether you want to show the timer. And you can count up or count down. So you have to choose those things, but it really is lovely to give them this opening assessment for the first 5 minutes. And sometimes I use it after class starts for the first 5 minutes, and sometimes I let them do it if they get there early to just sort of work on it. So it sort of gets their brain going, which I really like. Also, one of the things I do love about Qualtrics is what I used to do in something called C.A.L, which is computer assisted legal instruction, which is logic, which lets you branch them. So if you are trying to see where they're getting lost in a particular stream of things, if there's an order or a hierarchy or a process, you can branch so that if they get a no when they should have gotten a yes, you can take them off to another question and let them, and then lead them back to the correct place. But not everyone does that question. Only people who put the no in go to that question. So the logic is very easy to use once you play with it a little bit. And I found that to be incredibly helpful if I'm trying to figure out where are you getting lost, and okay, you're going down this misstep. Did you think this or this, right? To sort of stem them in their thinking. Other thoughts, Dr. Brown, did you have some thoughts to share?
I mean, you're answering the questions beautifully, Deb. I think like the only maybe thing I would add is just to kind of like double down on your suggestion to engage with the help at Qualtrics and get in contact with me or other folks like Deb, but especially me since I'm the administrator of Qualtrics at UDC. If you have some questions, and I can certainly try to direct you in the right direction. One thing I'll say about Qualtrics too, in addition to their like help desk, which is really awesome, really, really awesome. And you would get that inside of your Qualtrics account, you would access them that way, is that they have help pages. So if you were just to click, if you were to type into your search engine, Qualtrics plus whatever your question is, it's likely that they have like a help tips page already designed to answer your specific question. But again, if the page that they have doesn't answer, the help desk is amazing, and I can certainly help to guide as well. And I don't know what else. No, I think you're doing awesome, Deb. Just want to share all the help that's available to y'all.
I mean, that Rebecca got us Qualtrics was just, she really fought for this. I gather it was not an inexpensive addition to our software packages, and I think it's one of the most valuable things they added, and it was just so brilliant they did it before we did emergency remote instruction, because I really have developed my use because I had to for emergency remote instruction. Anyway, I know you all have many, many things to do, and I'm happy to sit and chat and keep discussing it with you, but I don't want to keep you if you have things to do and places to go. So please, ask any questions, feel free. You have my email. Let me put it back up, and you are always welcome to reach out. I'm a bit of a teaching and learning nerd, so anything that's going to make me be a better teacher, I am more than happy to always sit down and chat and do that. So please, please, please.
Excellent. And I did put thank you, Dr. Graham, and also Professor Cohen. I put your emails there. If you do have any other questions for the CAL team, our email is calhelpdesk@udc.edu. I've also put our sign up link for our future PD sessions. Professor Cohen has graciously offered to do her Unlearning, the New Science of Learning webinar in January. So please look for that. That will be January 19th at the start of the new semester.
That's much more fun.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. That'll be a great one. So I do just want to briefly go over, if you don't mind, Professor Cohen, just for everyone on the call and also for the recording, I'll go over how to access Qualtrics from within the UDC kind of system. So let me go ahead and share my screen, because I know we get questions about this all the time. So the first one is, this is the My UDC page. If you go to Quick Launch on the left-hand side in that toolbar, and then you scroll down and click on Load More, you'll see the Qualtrics button right here. Once you click on that, that will take you to that Qualtrics login for UDC. The second part, so you can see that load right here. Second part is the Blackboard page. This is udc.blackboard.com. Again, just as a quick reminder, we do put all of our future PD sessions for the month on this page as well under announcements. But if I scroll down, you'll see these useful links right here. There's also a useful link for Qualtrics. If I click on that, that will also take me to that Qualtrics page.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know that. And Dr. Carson, I see you just shared a survey, so that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
So you know how to do that. I will have to learn that one.
Yeah, Dr. Carson has reformulated our surveys for the CAL professional development and training. So we are going to start utilizing that. Thank you so much, Dr. Carson, for your eye with that as well.
So there are a bunch of other people here. I'm happy to take any questions or hear your suggestions for how to use it. I don't know all of you. I don't know who iPhone 12 is, but feel free to unmute and add your thoughts. And Susie J or Pat, if you had anything.
iPhone 12 is a great name.
Tiffany, you too. Well, we will assume then that.
Dr. Carson, anything to add?
Yeah, I had a suggestion, and I'm just curious, but I'm also first just curious, is anybody doing this? Are any of you adding scripts to your URLs for Qualtrics surveys where you can add data into hidden fields in Qualtrics? Because I found that to be very useful.
Could you expand? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
Well, what Qualtrics lets you do is, if you provide the URL, or even if you use the QR code, it'll basically it's a URL. So somebody clicks it, then then it takes you to Qualtrics. And so Qualtrics has the URL that points to a specific survey. But Qualtrics also allows you to add a script, like a question mark, and then there's additional text. You'll see that on some URLs when you click on things on the web. What that does is it adds that little bit of additional information to the query to Qualtrics. So instead of just saying, hey, here's the request for the survey, it says, here's the request for the survey. Oh, and look at this additional information that I'm passing to you. I want you to take this data and I want you to slot it into particular variables that are pre-formatted as hidden fields in your Qualtrics survey. So the advantage of that is if you know already that, say, this is class X, or class X session 1, class X session 2, then you don't have to say, hey, I want you to write in which, here's a multiple choice item for the class that you're in and the session that you're in. The student no longer has to do that. It's already added on directly onto the script that is attached to the URL. So that is potentially useful because then it will cut the amount of time down for the student responding, and it also will improve the reliability of what you're trying to measure, which is, hey, which class is this, which session is this. There won't be student errors. It's particularly important if you have stuff that somebody may just be showing up to, and they may have a hard time remembering who's the instructor or what's the name of the session.
So I have not used it in the way you're talking about, but right here, I use the date and time in the question for the QR code because I just do it once. So I just do it in my question. I haven't tried to do it in other ways.
Yeah, that'll get it done for you, because if you know for sure when you have the data coming in, you'll know that you received it at this time, so it's got to be for this particular class. So that sort of lets you know. But I think one of the things that we're not doing, we haven't added to our bag of tricks yet at UDC, is this hidden fields information.
That's really interesting because the way I get if I don't put something like this $ date, time, when I download the CSV file, it has the time and date that the survey was started and the survey was completed. So I usually get my time and date that way. But I like hearing your suggestion, which sounds much cleaner.
It gives you more control, at least.
Yeah, much cleaner.
And there's no guarantee that somebody's not going to come back later and respond later.
Right.
That might mess up your data collection. But just wondered if you'd done it, because it sounds like you're really familiar with Qualtrics. So
no, the extent to which I've used the scripting of $ is date and time in my attendance sheet. I haven't really explored that yet. Every semester I pick up one or two new things. And so it's an ever evolving. Last semester when I had this problem with Blackboard, literally I worked to do my timed multiple choice and my essay question all with blind grading, so that it actually didn't have emails or anything, and it was truly blind. And Tiffany, from her days way back when at the law school, will remember our blind grading system. And so it was really challenging to still give closed book exams way back when we were doing emergency remote instruction. And I really value that as our students have to go and take the bar, and really getting them to internalize the information early is important. And that's the same reason I love opening assessments is, if they don't get it right, suddenly they realize, maybe I didn't quite prepare quite as well as I should have for this class. So to me, that's always really important.
okay, sounds good.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Carson. Thank you, Professor Cohen. Are there any other questions before we conclude today? But Professor Cohen, I wanted to thank you again. It's always a pleasure to learn and work with you and collaborate. I am looking forward to our future collaborations, especially focused on learning science. But again, thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope that you really got a lot out of this session, and stay safe. We hope to see you very soon.
And again,
Bye-bye.
questions, feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, and again, I'll just put the emails one more time in that chat box. It's rebecca.graham, debra.cohen, and calhelpdesk@udc.edu.
And Allie, please feel free to reach out and continue the conversation.
Excellent. So have a good day, everyone. We will see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.